Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Cassie Villela. I'm a realtor, property manager, and investor here in the San Antonio, Texas area. On my channel, we talk about all things real estate related, from market updates to home maintenance and some gardening mixed in. So if that's your cup of tea, then please remember to like these videos and subscribe so you can see more. So today we're talking about the number one threat facing homeowners in San Antonio. I bet you're thinking maybe it's, I don't know, hail, wind damage, tornadoes. What could it possibly be? Well, I know that if you've been paying attention at all, you know that San Antonio property values are soaring. I just did a market update, or I just filmed a market update where I talked about the fact that May 2021 over May 2020, the median price increased by 23%. That is unprecedented here in San Antonio. And unfortunately, with property values rising, that means that property taxes are going up as well. And that's, in my opinion, the biggest threat to San Antonio homeowners over the next couple of years. And so let's talk about it. Now, to talk about it, we have to start off by talking about what makes up your property tax amount. A lot of people don't really know a lot about their property taxes because of the way that most mortgage companies will escrow in your property taxes, insurance, and PMI into your loan payment. Every once in a while, you just get a letter from your lender that says, oh, your payment's going up because your property taxes increased, or sometimes because your homeowner insurance increased. But today we're talking about property taxes. But you may not fully understand why they increased, how much they increased, what goes into that. So let's talk about that today. So there are three things that go into your property tax bill. The first part is the tax rate. So that's the easiest thing to understand. That is usually a little over between 2% and 2.5%. It varies around the county because it's made up of a bunch of small tax rates. So the city has a tax rate. So depending on if you live in San Antonio, there's a tax rate that San Antonio uses, and Converse has a different tax rate, and Alamo Heights has a different tax rate, and Live Oak has a different tax rate. All of the little municipalities have their own city tax rate. Then the county has a tax rate. Then you might live in a place where you pay hospital taxes or community college tax rates or other kinds of municipal taxes. If you look on BCAD, that's the Appraisal District website, you can type in any property address and find out all of the different property taxes assigned to that particular property and what the overall tax rate is. So that's really helpful. That's bcad.org. So bcad.org. That's where you can find that. And then you can find a list of all of the different taxes on this link. I'll put it down in the description below as well. So that's the first thing, your tax rate. So the second thing is your property valuation. So your tax rate, that's going to be around 2%. It's 2% of the value of your home is your property tax rate. And it's a yearly tax that changes every year and that you pay on a yearly basis. So your property valuation is actually how your taxes increase. Some people think like, oh, well, the city didn't raise taxes. The city didn't raise the tax rate, so we're good. But the city doesn't have to change the tax rate. All they have to do is value the properties higher. And then your total amount due, your yearly tax bill, is going to increase. So the home valuations are done by the county appraisal district, that bcad.org that I just talked about. So they do that based on they're giving you a valuation of your home based on January of that year. And so that property valuation, you'll get a notice of appraised value in April. And then I have a whole series on how you can protest that valuation. And I think you should. I think everybody should. That series, I'll link it below too, but I have a 3-part series on how to do that, walks you through it. But tax rate times your property valuation. But then, as if that all is not complicated enough, we also have exemptions. So exemptions can lower your valuation. So most homeowners have the homestead exemption. If you live in your home, you have the homestead exemption. Obviously, you can't use it for like a rental property or vacation home, but your primary residence is a homestead exemption. And then there's a lot of other types of exemptions. A lot of them have to do with military service or disability status or age. So for a complete list of exemptions, look in the description. I will also leave a link to that. It's at the comptroller's website. So basically, you take your property valuation from BCAD, you subtract any exemptions, and then multiply that by your tax rate. And that is how you get your yearly tax bill. And so you can see all of those different factors. That's why tax bills can vary so much from house to house. No two houses are paying anywhere near the same tax bill. Sometimes you can have neighbors with very similar homes paying very different tax bills, and this is why. So 2.58, that's an example tax rate for a home in San Antonio. This is very unscientific and with a very small sample size, but I just looked at a couple of properties that I own in San Antonio city limits and averaged them. If you are in Converse, like the Converse rate is more like 2.12. My house in Live Oak is like 2.43. So it's a little bit all over the place, but I'm going to use 2.58 because I'm talking about San Antonio right now. And that's the San Antonio tax rate. If you live in Northside School District, etc. The median home price, I went back and looked on my December 2020 market update. Because like I said, BCAD is going to use January to calculate your valuation. So January 1st of this year, the median home price was $266,100. The reason we use median and not average is because the average home price can really be skewed by luxury homes. So those $1 million homes can really pull up the average and give kind of an unrealistic picture. Where the median price is really a more reliable measure to use. So if we multiply that median price, $266,100, times the San Antonio tax rate, 2.58, we get a total property tax of $6,865.38. So that's $572 per month that the median household is paying in San Antonio. $572 per month in property taxes. That's not your mortgage. Your mortgage is on top of that. That's not your insurance. That's just property taxes. Now, the reason that I think that this is something that we need to talk about and need to be aware of is because the median family income in Bexar County is not keeping up with the property valuation increases. So the property values are just soaring, but the median family income is not. So according to HUD, the median family income is $72,000. That's for like a family of four. I got that from the San Antonio Current. And so I linked that source on the video and then in the description there. So if you are making the median income of San Antonio families, which is $72,000, and you're paying $572 a month to property taxes, you are paying almost 10% of your income towards property taxes. And that doesn't even include your mortgage or anything. That's just property taxes. And unfortunately, it is going to get worse. So I heard anecdotally, because I help people protest their property taxes. I have the video series I talked about. So I heard anecdotally that everybody was like, man, my property taxes went up so much this year. They increased the value of my property by $20,000 or more, and made my taxes go up so much. I just heard that over and over again. So I started researching it. I found this article through KSAT. It was a very well-written article. I'll link it below. Definitely worth the read. But they mentioned that according to the Texas A&M Real Estate Center, the property taxes in Bexar County went up almost 7% over last year. So if you use the median home price of $266,000, that's an average of $18,300 that the valuation increased in 1 year which is going to be $474 in taxes per year, which is about $40 per month. So in 1 year, your home costs went up by $40. If you are a homeowner, your home costs went up $40. If you are a renter, then your home costs also probably increased, because I know that I have not been increasing rent on my renters, even though rental prices have skyrocketed in the last couple of years. I just feel with COVID, I don't want to make something harder for anybody, right? I've got great tenants. I want to keep them. I've just let their rent stay low. But when I got the property tax bill for one, it went up so much that I just had to show the tenant. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I don't want to raise the rent on you, but like, here's the data. Like, they've raised it this much in 1 year and there's nothing I can do. And they were very, very nice. And it was still way under market rent at the time. So, I just want to make the point, this isn't even just homeowners. Even renters are affected when we increase property taxes so drastically in 1 year. So I talked about this earlier, but the increase from May 2020 to May 2021, I just did the market report, and it's 23% median single family home sales. So can you imagine how much the property taxes are going to go up if this trend continues? If we continue to see 20% growth year over year, how much the property taxes are going to go up next year, or over over a couple of years? So, I have some scenarios here. If BCAD raises values by 20%, that's an increase of $1,373 per year, or about $115 per month. That is a lot of money, especially if you're making $72,000 a year. $115 a month is excessive. That is so much. I don't think the median family income in San Antonio is going to jump by 20% in that same year. And that's not even talking about people on a fixed income. One thing that has been scaring me about working with buyers right now, this market is so hot. People are just bidding up these properties. Every house has a bidding war. People are having to go $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 above asking price just to get a home under contract. They're waiving, appraisals, doing all kinds of crazy things to win this property. And so buyers are really stretching to their limits to afford to buy a house in this market. And I'm just so scared for all of these buyers who are buying at the very top of their affordability, really. And then if their property taxes increase next year by even $50, that's a lot, but $50 to $100 in 1 year, what is that going to do? If you buy a house and you think that this is my payment, my payment's going to be $2,000, and then it suddenly goes up by $100 in 1 year, or even within 6 months, that's a lot. I even looked at my personal property. We moved in July of last year. And so between July and then January of this year, our property taxes went up $55 a month. Like, that's a lot. That's it. In our case, that's almost, it's not quite 10%. So it's around that 8-9% number, but that's a lot. And I'm really concerned for homeowners who are not anticipating this, getting slapped with this huge increase. And it's not like they could just sell and go buy somewhere cheaper, because there is nowhere cheaper. Their mortgage payments already as low as they're going to find anywhere in San Antonio, pretty much, because of how much prices have soared. So people are really going to be stuck. So that's why I'm saying, it sounds alarmist. It's like the number one threat, but really it is something that's going to affect a lot of people. And I think we need to talk about it. I wish that more journalists would write about it. I think we need to shine some light on this and make sure that we, as a city, find solutions to this problem together. And that's really what I'm talking about this for. That's why I'm bringing it up. I just hope that something can be done. I hope that we can find solutions to this. So if your property taxes have increased a bunch, then comment down below. I want to hear it. I want to hear, what you're anticipating. If you protested your taxes, if you were able to get a break, just your experiences. I was talking to a client from California, and he was talking about Prop 13 and the pros and cons of that, which limits how much the property taxes can increase. But then there's some other side effects. And so that's a really interesting topic. That's an interesting solution that they've come up with, but then it's caused its own problems. So this is a complex issue. I definitely think that we need to be talking about it. And let me know what you think. If you like this video, make sure you press the like button and subscribe, and I'll talk to you later.